segment of the show for today. The topic is the Tennessee Board of Regents, and we're talking to Chancellor Charles Manning of the Tennessee Board of Regents. And of course, Chancellor Manning, before we had our first commercial break, we were talking about the state lottery. And we want to give you an opportunity to talk about that, because I think that that is a tremendous opportunity for a large number of people. But we also find that not many people are aware of exactly how it might be able to help them in terms of their education. So if you could give us that information.
Well, it's you know, for a university, it's about $3,000 a year, and so it is a significant help. It is, you know, by no means covers all room and board and tuition, but it's a very significant help for people to go to college. Now, it's not for everyone. You know, it's you've got to have a B average beginning next fall, and you've got to have to maintain that average. And I guess you know, one thing I'd emphasize with your audience is you add up 4 or 5 years of education at $3,000 a year, and that's a lot of money.
A significant amount of money.
So it's terribly important to maintain that B average and not lose this, because once you've lost it, it's gone. And you know, there are a number of strategies that you I ended up in chemistry. Not everybody finds math and science easy. I had a harder time with history. Probably that's why I moved out of history. You know, one strategy is, you know, if you're on the edge, make sure you're taking things that you really like, enjoy, and know. You know, you've got to make sure you maintain 12 hours to have a full-time load as you're doing this. And another strategy I'd mention is that there is, you know, if you're right on the edge, there's quite a bit more personal attention in a community college, and there is an option. You can transfer back and forth. University, community college don't get as much money, but relative to its cost, you do. And if you're kind of on the edge of keeping that, that's another strategy you might use to make sure you maintain that and don't lose the scholarship. So as you say, it really amounts to a significant amount of money when you add the multiple years to actually get your degree.
You know, what I think one of the things that many students probably don't understand is that it's good to major in whatever. But I think, as you're indicating now, that what you want to try to do is major in anything that can possibly bring you toward that degree, because that's the most important thing. And in many instances, we find that our careers and our desires, as you've indicated in reference to your career, will often change by some other kind of situation. But it is an opportunity, you're saying.
It very much is an opportunity, and sort of picking up what you say, you know, even without the scholarship, somebody who really wants to go to college, they can, but they may have to borrow money. Now, sort of the worst situation to have is to have borrowed money going to school and not finish.
No, that is really.
You need to finish, get that degree. That's what really, you know, it's that sort of final step. Even though you've learned stuff all along the way, when it's all packaged together and agreed, that's what gets you in the door of a company, and that's what helps you get a job that pays better. And you know, all you know, kind of national look at this, your lifetime earnings definitely correlates with the amount of education you have going up with increased education. So it's very important to finish. And a lot of what we're trying to do is trying to emphasize that. You know, we've done a lot of work to make sure people can transfer from one school to another without, you know, if they're watching what they're doing, not losing any credit hours. We've tried to limit the number of hours to a degree to 120. That's 4 years at 15 hours a semester for the bachelor's degree, and 60 for the associate. All that helps a person get through, but you need to, you know, be as careful as you can.
You've got to be determined. Right. You really have to want to do that.
But I'd add to it, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to change your mind. I certainly did, and am, you know, glad of it, because, you know, when you come out of high school, there's a lot you haven't experienced, and a lot that you find you're interested in that you didn't know you were going to be interested in.
You know, one of the problems I think that we face, Chancellor, in terms of dealing with education is that we find so many of our young people who are not exactly encouraged to become involved in the teaching profession. Now, that's one of the needs that we have in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Why don't you speak to that so that they might understand that it is possible to become involved in the teaching profession and do quite well beyond that?
You know, it has lots of job prospects, and interestingly, you know, this you think of all of Tennessee, and it's not uniform. I mean, there are counties with higher incomes, higher education, and all kinds of things, and there are other counties that are really struggling with minimum wage jobs. But the interesting thing about teaching is that you can live virtually anywhere in the state and have a good job teaching. So it for those who have sort of made life decisions, geographic life decisions, and are not in an urban area, it really offers a great prospect for things you can do. And one of the things Board of Regents is doing in this regard, I think helps a lot. Let's take somebody that has finished college, but didn't major in education.
Teaching certification.
And, yeah, no certification for teaching. They happen to marry somebody that's living out away from an urban area, and they could get a job if they had the certification in that local area. Well, we've got an online program that will take somebody with a bachelor's and get them that certification. It will take teachers who you know, maybe are now teaching in a math or science and have a general certification but don't have it in that specific area, and get that for them. And it will also allow a student to get a master's degree and thereby help their prospects for promotion and salary. So it is, and there's a big demand, particularly in the math science area and in special education areas across the state for those jobs. So you know, and the biggest problem I think we have here actually is those are also available across the state line, and they pay more.
Good. Okay. Good. And I think that was one of the problems that we had the last time. You know, and of course, Chancellor, we're getting ready for our second commercial break. Now, when we come back, I'd like for you to also talk about a topic that you talked about the last time we were here, and that is technology in higher education. Because I think that we've seen it blossom in many instances, and I think that we're almost on the cutting edge in the state of Tennessee dealing with this. And so let's have you after we make our second commercial break. We'll be back with our audience following this very short commercial break. The topic